What's going on, guys? It's me, Giuliano Fan HC here, and today we have the NG Models November 2025 releases for you guys. Looking a little different for NG's November releases, as I've seen the hints, and to be honest with you, they're not really that great for me, in my opinion. But I mean, despite this release set not being that great, we're still gonna cover it, and we're gonna see what models there's gonna be. I have seen a lot of models that appeared, but I don't think it was mentioned on NG's Instagram page yet. But they did have the releases out. But before we get into that, we do have the hints. So as you can see, there is no US releases, no November registered North American releases for this month, which the good thing about that is it does save my wallet from, being harmed from all these purchases. So this is kind of clearly a money saver month for me. So the hints are 1-400. So this is the 1-400. So we have one Airbus A319 Neo from China, one A321 Neo from China, one A321 XLR from France, two A330-300s from China, two A350s, the A350-900s, one from Singapore and one from China, two A350-1000s, one from the UK and one from China, and two 737-800s from China. And we also got the 1-400 hints, which I forgot what were the 1-400 hints, but I know there was a North American registered in there. So there was one, I think there was one of the North American registration prefixes already, and I think from what I saw, I have seen all the pictures. I know there was an Air China, there was a Delta airplane. I think maybe the November registered, maybe it was the Delta 757, I think, but I think there was also a Starlux A350-1000. So while I have seen these hints already, I did not see them everything, but there's also a China Eastern special livery as well. But I still want to cover it to take a look at this. So with that being said, we're at the NG's website, and despite all the aspects from this month's from all the aspects I've saw on this month's release set, even though this is a bad release set for most North American collectors, at least it does shine a light for some of the collectors outside, in the Asia region, the UK region. So pretty much a break for us, despite the October 2025 releases being heavy on US stuff, especially Hawaiian Airlines. But we're just gonna cover it anyway. So with that being said, let's get started with the NG Models November 2025 releases. So we're gonna start things off with a China Eastern Boeing 737-800. This is in the Yunnan Peacock livery. This is a purple, and I don't know why it's not clicking in. Am I doing something? Or maybe I had to or maybe something is happening. I'm not sure. Let me try refreshing. But if that were the case, if the images don't load, then I'll transfer it to the different HMO's website. Yeah, it's not cooperating properly. So we're gonna switch into the NG Models other website. So let's move into that website to get a better aspect of all the releases. Okay, so we're on the different NG Models website. Now this is their current website from this website. So yeah, this used to be the previous website that I would do the releases, but because the links aren't working properly, I decided to go for the others. We do have another airplane that's over there, so yeah. But despite all the aspects of that, I do want to try to fix things up and kind of go to the other NG Models website, which is this one. So we're gonna start off with the 1-400s this time. So there was a Yunnan Peacock China Eastern 737-800, and as you saw, there was a Xiamen Air 737-800 Jurassic World. But we'll start off with the 1-400 sections. So again, the 1-400 section isn't all that great for most North American collectors, but we do have this China Eastern A330-300 in what appears to be the Toy Story livery. So this is a really nice livery. I think it's promoting Disneyland Resort in Hong Kong, I guess, or I don't know where the location is, but somewhere in China. But yeah, this is a nice livery. I do like the fact they added Buzz on the forward area of the aircraft and Woody close to the aft area of the aircraft. And it's not an all-white livery. They got some really cool blue painted all over the fuselage. So that's really interesting right there. Bravo 5976 is the registration of that plane. And as we scroll down, next up we do have the Ultimate Collection counterparts. So same registration and everything, just a little bit more expensive than the previous one. Next up, we do have this Comac C919. NG Models is really big on doing these snap fit C919s, And yeah, this is 1 to 100 scale, so I'd assume it's gonna be like plastic. So yeah, really cool aircraft, I gotta say, from China. But of course, for us US collectors, this is also a light version as well. So something new that NG has never done. $100, which, yeah, it's a bit overpriced, but it makes sense for like a 1 to 100 scale model because of course it's bigger. Next up we do have is a Comac C909 or 909, which is just like a knockoff of the 717 and CRJ. So yeah, this is what it looks like. And this is also a snap fit, or it's some kind of like dream model. I'm not sure what this dream really means, but something that I have never seen NG would do. But yeah, this is also interesting as well. So yeah, but of course this is an aircraft built in China, so no need. Next up we do have is a C919. This is 1-200, and I assume this is also snap fit too. Oh, it's also dream. So I'm not sure what's the deal with like NG models, dream models, but yeah, I do want to try minimizing out so I can have a better aspect. There we go. So this is kind of like a much better look at it. So yeah, here is the C919, 1-200 scale dream model. I'm not sure what that is. And here is the Xiamen Air Boeing 737 MAX 8. This is the first aircraft delivered from, how would I say this? Zhaozhan from Xiamen Air. So, interesting airline. I don't see these every day. I think they would operate in some parts of the US like JFK, but they don't send their 737 Maxes there because in the US because like of course this is regional based. So it's mostly they mostly fly within Asia and some parts of China. Mostly China, but some parts of Asia. But yeah, again, like no need, it's not really necessary for me to get. This is the NG Light variant on this 1-200 model, and the aircraft registration is Bravo 225 Foxtrot. Are there any registrations? There are no registrations labeled on these like Comac Snap Fits and Dreams. So that's the Max 8 right there. Next up we do have, I think this is coming in 1-400 scale. Yeah, this is 1-400. So this is a China Eastern Airbus A330-200. Wait, what's the previous one? 300? Okay, this one's 300. Oh, so this is the China Eastern A330-300 in the Harbin 2025 livery. So this is the Asian Winter Games. So yeah, it's a very nice livery. Again, despite like this being a regional Asian aircraft and airline, there's no need to get because like China Eastern never flies the A330s outside of Asia. So yeah, I'll pass on this one, but yeah, it's what it is for most of the Chinese collectors. Bravo 5937 is the registration of this plane. Next up we do have, so this is what I saw already. This is the Xiamen Airlines Boeing 737-800 in the Jurassic World Isla Nublar Universal livery. So yeah, this is like the Universal China thing, because like there's a Universal Studios theme park in China, so they wanted to paint one of their aircrafts in this livery promoting Jurassic World. And I think this may have come out, I think this plane, like this livery first emerged somewhere in 2015, kind of like around that 2013, maybe 2015 is when the movie came out. So yeah, but it's a really cool livery. I do like the details they added on this special livery. Bravo 5487 is the registration of this aircraft. And next up we do have, so this is the Yunnan Peacock I was mentioning before, and honestly it doesn't look really nice. Like I think compared to like the green and the orange, the purple, or I can say it's like a hot pink, something not really hot pink, like a dark pink or a magenta, I actually do like the design it is. I think the livery fits well with this color, and you got like red and blue and all that stuff. But yeah, it's a really interesting livery, and the overall style of it looks very nice. But again, despite this aircraft being in the China region, no need to get. So that aircraft is registered Bravo 5701. And let's move on. So here is the Riyadh Air Airbus A321neo or A321 XLR. This currently is in the, I think it's in the testing phase at the Hamburg Airbus factory in Germany. So really cool that they added this. I think this should be a nice asset for all of the Middle Eastern collectors right there. So Riyadh Air is a startup airline. I think they just recently started commercial service from, I think it's their home base in Riyadh to Jeddah, and it's known to being the second flag carrier of Saudi Arabia, just behind Saudi. So really cool right there. But despite this, of course, it's a narrow body Riyadh Air aircraft. I don't think it's really necessary to get because first of all, I have not seen Riyadh Air, and this is a narrow body aircraft. But it should be cool for all the Middle Eastern collectors who like getting Middle Eastern airlines like Riyadh Air. So that aircraft is registered. So this aircraft is wearing the Airbus test registration. So that aircraft is registered Foxtrot Whiskey Whiskey Bravo Zulu, and it's a former A321XLR prototype painted in Riyadh Air livery for the Paris Air Show for 2025. So that's really interesting right there. So overall, I mean, that's a really cool livery for an A321XLR. But I think it's saying it's a former XLR prototype. So this used to be like the Airbus house livery. So really cool right there. But of course, I think it needs to have like the actual registration from Saudi at first before it can be like, you know, people. But again, like it's Riyadh Air, but really cool they I mean, it's really cool that NG adds this, but mostly catering to all the Middle Eastern collectors. And then next up, here is another A321neo. This is the Wizz Air Airbus A321neo. This is Wizz Air Malta, and this is in the Fly the Greenest livery. So this is kind of like promoting like aviation, sustainable aviation fuel. So I think Wizz Air also decided to do sustainable aviation fuel on many of their fleets. So here it is right there. So this is the livery that represents that. So yeah, Wizz Air is now flying with SAF, as what most airlines are doing right now as of this time. So it's really cool for Wizz Air to actually paint one of their planes like this. So that aircraft is registered Niner Hotel Whiskey November Mike, and once again, this is Wizz Air Malta. And as I scroll down, here is a Hainan Airlines Airbus A321neo. Now, I have seen the Hainan Airlines Airbus A321neo before going into like this video right here, so it's not really surprising me, but I can see it's like a requested model from the community. So really cool that it's cool in a way, but for us US collectors, I mean, not really that interesting, but it's nice that NG is kind of like catering on the Chinese collectors, even though we do demand for more North American releases from NG, but NG is just doing their thing. There's nothing to complain. We don't want to, like, you know, in a way, like, just try to, like, say, demand them so much about US releases, but that's how they roll. So that aircraft is registered Bravo 32 Lima Yankee, and this is Hainan Airlines' first A321neo, so really significant right there for this particular aircraft. Alright, so now moving on, we do have another duplicate as what NG would technically like to do. That aircraft is registered Bravo 32 Mike Tango, and this is not a community requested aircraft, so NG kind of like doing the same, like they've been doing this for like a while, so yeah, it's what it is. Next up, we do have a Star Alliance Airbus A330 for Air China, so this is the A330-300, another requested model from the community, and again, like another Chinese release set as what NG would always like to do. There's, from what I saw on those hints, there appears to be more Chinese releases compared to like I think the Chinese releases just dominated the whole November releases. So yeah, I think that's one reason why collectors complain about this month's release set, but again, like, so it's how they roll, like, it's what they do. It's kind of like Gemini Jets in a way, where they cater to most of the US market. NG, on the other hand, since they're a Chinese company, they're catering more on the China and Asia markets instead. So it's what it is, but yeah, we do have another Star Alliance A330-300, another one of those, but yeah. Bravo 5912 is the registration on this aircraft. And of course, we have our duplicate right there. Bravo 6101 is the registration of the second one. And this one's a community requested. Oh, there's actually two community requested, so yeah. Next up, we do have the Seoul A319neo with Air China being that particular one. So this is Air China's first A319neo right there, so some significance on this aircraft. And yeah, the A319neo, it's kind of like the 737 MAX 7 in a way. The market isn't really that interested on these kind of like fuel efficient, smaller fuselage, smaller fuselage aircraft like the A319neo. So Spirit was supposed to have the A319neo, but they canceled that. So majority of the A319neo customers are kind of like in China and maybe some VIP operations, VIP customers as well. So yeah, the A319neo is really a rare aircraft that you could find alongside the MAX 7, because like out of all the airlines similar to like the A319neo, the MAX 7 is only in the US, and Southwest will be the main operator of that aircraft. But we're just talking about the A319neo for Air China. So yeah, really interesting right there too for NG wants to do. And yeah, it's been a while since NG also did the A319neo. So the aircraft is registered Bravo C2 Lima Delta. And as we move down, this is another A319neo, so nothing too significant. Bravo C2 Mike, is that one? Yeah, Bravo C2 Mike 1 is the registration of this second NG United A319 Neo, or not United A319, Air China A319 Neo. Sorry about that. I was thinking about the United A321. But as we move down, we do have the Starlux Airbus A350-1000. Now, I also have seen this on like various like social media pages, so it's really cool that we get one. I think, I'm not sure if Starlux has delivered the A350-1000 yet, but I do love that the first A350-1000 for Starlux is in this livery, and I honestly really like it. So this one will be the ultimate collection package, and compared to like the Starlux livery that I would often see on their A350-900s, this livery looks really unique for the A350-1000. The tail looks really, I like the tail design on this aircraft, and I also like the fact they also added a 1000 since this one is an A350-1000. So I did search up if these planes will fly to San Francisco, but technically speaking, they won't. I mean, what was I gonna say? Oh yeah, so these planes will not fly to San Francisco International Airport, as that's mostly for the A350-900, but they did select a few cities that the Starlux A350-1000 will fly. And I think there's some selected cities, I kind of forgot what the cities were, or just the airports in the US were, but yeah, really cool aircraft right there. But is it on my priority? Not really. Will I see one? Maybe when I go to Taipei for my next layover whenever I go to the Philippines. But yeah, really cool aircraft right there. And this aircraft is registered Bravo 58551, and this is Starlux. Once again, Starlux Airlines is first A350-1000 with a carbon fiber livery. So this is kind of like a carbon fiber livery to really represent Starlux's first A350-1000, which is kind of similar to what Air China did with their A350-900. They kind of made an Airbus carbon fiber livery on one of their planes, so that's really cool. And we should have a standard version as well, so maybe this can be my honestly, out of all like the releases, maybe this is like the only interesting model for me on this month's release set. Is it on my priority to get? Not really. Will I get this model at some point? Presumably, but for now, I'll just leave it be. Maybe if I see one in person, then yes, I would probably get this. But for now, I'll just leave it be. And as we move down, we do have a China Postal Airlines Boeing 737-800 BDSF. So really interesting, again, like really interesting aircraft or airline in the China region. But again, these are just like Chinese airlines. They fly within China, nowhere else, or some parts of Asia. So yeah, I'm not really interested in this model in particular. So the aircraft is registered Bravo 5160. And as we scroll down, we do have one that's different. So this duplicate I can understand, because like while it is the same airline and aircraft, they have different variations. So one is with winglets, the other is without winglets. So I like what NG Models did there, but again, this is just a Chinese airline, not in my priority for collecting. So the aircraft is registered. So this one in particular is Bravo 222 Tango, and this is the one without the winglets. And as we scroll down, and we got another one. Okay, yeah, again, like nothing really too special at this point. Bravo 506 is the registration of this other one. And here is a Sichuan Airlines Airbus A350-900. This one is in the regular livery this time, and they do fly to Los Angeles International Airport, but majority of like Sichuan's A350 fleet is mostly Panda Route liveries, but there are a few Sichuan Airlines that are now being repainted into their standard livery. So honestly, I do love the Panda Route liveries, but I think NG did a little too much on those. So while it's kind of like a priority for NG to do, for us collectors, I think they got used to that at point. But it's really nice to see them do a standard livery A350 now, since like some of China or Sichuan Airlines' planes are now being repainted into Z's liveries now. So yeah, so that aircraft is registered Bravo 32 Mike Victor. And as we scroll down, so this, I honestly really like to see this one at G. I really like what they did. So this is the Delta Airlines Boeing 757-200 coming in a 1/200 scale. This is actually really cool. So we got one that has the Gen 2 winglet, just like the Gen 2 configuration, which is the emergency exit doors on the wings, and this aircraft also has winglets. Technically speaking, I would love to get this model because I have flown on a 757 already from Delta Airlines and landed in Kansas City. But I believe the aircraft I flew was a Gen 1 configuration, so there was no emergency exit on the door, And yeah, it's really cool to see though. It's really nice that NG has finally done a Delta Airlines Boeing 757. But honestly, if they actually did one with just like the Gen 1 configuration, then I would have purchased it. But I'll leave this be for now. I'm not sure if NG is ever going to do a Gen 1 Delta 757-200 with winglets, but this aircraft was registered November 6, 96 Delta Lima. I'm not sure if this particular plane does not have any winglets anymore, because of course these Gen 2 planes don't have winglets and they're mainly used for VIP charters, but who knows, maybe, not quite sure. But it's really nice that NG Models is doing a Delta Airlines 757-200 1-to-1 scale. I think this could be the only model from this month's releases that's only for North America. That's it basically. So again, nothing really too special, but I would love to get this if NG were to done a Gen 1 with winglets. But yeah, really nice. I think many US collectors are pleased that NG has done a Delta 757-200 1-to-1 scale. We'll see how this goes. Maybe I might get this model or not, but who knows. Anyways, as we move down, we do have another Sichuan A350-900. This aircraft is registered Bravo 304 uniform, and yeah, nothing really too special, just another NG Models duplicate. And here is another cool model that I think many collectors are going to be pleased about. It's the Delta Airlines Boeing 757-200 in the breast cancer awareness livery. So really fitting for the month of October, because October is breast cancer awareness month. So really nice that they feature this model in this month's release set. I think many of the US collectors who like collecting 1-to-1 models are also going to be pleased with this. But yeah, really cool right there. This aircraft is Gen 2 without winglets. So yeah, that's a really cool livery, I gotta say. It's kind of like nearly in the lines of, like, you know, Delta's BCRF 767s. But yeah, really nice. 764s is what I mean. But yeah, really nice livery right there. I love what Delta Airlines did, and yeah, it's all pink, so that's really cool. That aircraft is registered November 610 Delta Lima. But yeah, those are probably the only two US releases for this one. That's it, nothing else. But yeah, and they're all 1-to-1 scale. Of course, like, there's a lot of people who love collecting 1-to-1 models, and other people collecting 1-to-1 models. But yeah, really cool that they were able to. And here we go again with another Sichuan A350-900 Bravo 304 Victor. Oh man, I don't know how many NG Sichuan A350-900s they're doing, but yeah, it's kind of like the Air India A350-900 situation from last year. But I won't be okay, this one's different. They're doing like a Tibet A320 or A319 Neo in this like egg-shaped cartoonish like plane thing, and yeah, just like a cartoon egg-shaped A319 Neo, which I don't think NG has ever done a mold out of this. But again, this is just exclusively for the Chinese market, so there's nothing really too special about it. But yeah, it looks cute though. I would love to see NG do like a North American version of this, and yes, I'll probably get this. Like, I'll probably get, like, you know, like, let's say if NG does the cartoon version of a 737 for Southwest, then I would get that. But again, these are more exclusive for the Chinese market, so there's no need to get. And that's it for this month's release set. So again, as expected, from all like the hints I've seen, honestly, probably this could be NG's, I don't want to say worst release of the year, but it's kind of like sitting at that, I think how would I word it is, this release set just pretty much sits at the bottom of, like, you know, bottom of the floor in terms of like the releases they did this year. The only good release that I can think of from NG for 2025 was last month's release set in October. November 2025, I think NG wanted to take a break on these US releases, because of course us collectors from the US, they love collecting NGs if they ever do US registered planes. But again, like, I think I can see why NG ended up like doing something like this for this one. And yeah, I think this is honestly, I hate saying the word worse, but honestly, this is honestly much worse than November 2024 releases, where there isn't much any US registered. There were some US registered planes from last year's release set for November, but seeing no US release set for 1-to-1 scales for this month, it's for 2025, it's just, I mean, it might be a pain for the US collectors, but of course, like, some collectors want to get like diversity from like some other collectors out in the other parts of the world wanted to get their countries represented, or it's like continents represented. So it kind of makes sense of what they're doing, but for somehow there was also a Gulf registration prefix. I'm not sure where that, because like there was also a Gulf registered AG50 1000 somewhere. I have no idea where that is, but I'd assume it was a British Airways plane. But from what I'm seeing, I don't see anything that has a Gulf registration prefix on a AG50 1000. So it's quite tough to see that NG has decided to go for an all Asia China release. This kind of feels like an all Chinese, or well, at least we got some European stuff actually. But despite like this month's release set being overshadowed by Chinese releases, it's not really, honestly, for me, it's bad. Honestly, I think NG was, I think what NG wanted to do was like, you know, in a way, they wanted to like, again, they were thinking of like taking a break on the US releases that they released many of them last month. Another thing can be something that has to do with the tariff situation that's going on right now, and all like the various aspects from, you know, like, cause like we're currently on a government shutdown right now. Maybe NG wanted to like step away from the US market to give all the US collectors a break or something. Again, I don't know if I'm explaining economics properly, but yeah. But other than that, like, as mentioned before, this release set is kind of sitting at the bottom of the floor in terms of NG's releases in 2025. So, but I'm not saying this is the worst release. I'm not saying this is the worst NG releases I've seen. For me, in my mind, maybe, but from the outside perspective, it's not really the worst release. It just sits at the bottom, at the floor, out of all the NG releases that I've come across. But yeah, I mean, all I can really say about this month's release set, it is what it is. NG wanted to cater more on the Chinese market since they're a Chinese company, so it does make sense why they wanted to do that, alongside all the various economical current situations that's happening in the US right now. So on the bright side though, despite all the number of Chinese releases, at least they were able to do a Delta 757s in 1-200 scale. So at least we're getting some representation in the 1-200 market for North American collectors, but majority of the 1-400 like the 1-400 section is no US releases. There's mostly Europe, but yeah, and Middle Eastern too. But yeah, it's just overshadowed by all these Chinese airlines. But again, like, I can't really complain too much about NG. This is kind of like the norms of NG at this point, so it kind of feels like we're going back to square one in a way. But again, it is what it is. I don't think I'll be getting anything for this month because, like, you know, like, there's nothing really interesting. The only model I'm interested in 1-400 scale is this Starlux AT50 1000. But the thing is, like, they don't fly to like San Francisco in a way. But yeah, but again, like, maybe I might come back if I ever see this aircraft in person. I might come back from this release set and get that model. But other than that, just everything else, alongside the Delta 757-200. I mean, like, I like the Delta 757-200, but I want it to be like a Gen 1. I'm not trying to be all picky or anything, but yeah. But other than that, it is what it is. I can't complain too much right there other than that. But that's how NG rolls in a way, as of like, ever since like 2024, we're really seeing a trend that NG's doing these duplicates and more Chinese releases, as compared to like, you know, 2020 where they released a lot of North American releases. But yeah, it's just the shift of NG's like perspective is what collectors are really worrying about. But it's what it is. Like, I'm seeing what's happening with the NG model. Like, I can see what's happening with the NG models, and there's nothing really to complain about. If they like to release this many Chinese release sets in one release set, that's on them. Again, it's like Gemini jets in a way. Gemini jets cater more to the US market, therefore they release more US releases compared to like all the other parts of like Asia and Europe. NG is really the opposite. They release more like Asia releases, more in particular China, and there's like a low percentage of like Europe, North America, Africa in a way. But yeah, like, other than that, like, it's just, why do you keep saying other than that? But yeah, to be precise, it's that's how that's kind of like NG's like main focus. It's China and Asia more to be yeah, it's their main focus. That's it. That's all I can say. But other than that, there's nothing really too interested for me in this release set, and I can just like completely say that I won't be getting anything from this month's release set. I mean, again, there is only one model in one front scale that I'm interested, which was the Starlux AT51000. And if I ever see that in person, then I might come back to this release set and get that model from there. But other than that, nothing is really necessary to get for this month release set. But the good news is my wallet is safe, so that's a plus from this month's release set at least. But other than that, let me know what you guys are gonna be getting. If you're not a fan of this release set, then just leave it be. But if there's some models that are interested for you, then you might as well get it. But other than that, like, this is just a kind of like your standard NG release at this point. There's nothing really too much to complain about right there. So I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe to my channel, and turn on the bell icon so you won't miss a new upload like this anytime soon. So that's it for today's video. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Good night.